Okay. Here I want to show you guys an example of health data. I don't know that we're going to actually use it, but I thought it was somewhat informative. So I think we should at least take a look to see what it's telling us. And that is the CDC data. The reason why we may not be able to use it is because it's only on the cities, although it's a census tract data. It's kind of a shame because we don't have the entire county represented here. The one that I'm going to show you today is an interesting one. So these CDC data has these 4 different buckets of measures. And if you go to prevention, there is this percentage of adults that are over 18 who have sort of a routine checkup. So maintenance of their health, that's part of their routine is the question. So if you look at that data, which we have under CDC folder, what I did here is because it's such a big file, I extracted only Illinois data, so it's easier to manage. So I'll show you how to use that in QGIS. Then we'll talk about how to save this file. So I'm going to start with adding the tract level data at the county level. So if you've watched previous recordings, you might have seen where the tract level file sits for the entire county. It's in here, the shapefile. And again, you get this warning. Just, okay. I'm going to close this. And then I'm going to do a delimited text layer. And if you do that, you should be able to open that CDC data. Illinois, that one is underscore IL at the end. It's the Illinois data. So now, if you add, so over here, you have these 2 data, set one shapefile, another data. For my own sanity, I'm just gonna name it. I'll just name it routine checkup. And then you don't necessarily have to do this, but for the sake of organization, I just like having names straight. Put a property here. So I'm going to join these 2 files, join and add new join here. I already recognize the other file, routine checkup. So what you notice here, I already changed the variable name in the CDC data, the track ID, so I know which one to go get. But what's really interesting here is that in the CDC data, the track numbers are numeric. It says 1, 2, 3 here. Whereas in the shapefile for Cook County, it's ABC, so it's a string. So 2 different types, but QGIS still knows that they can be joined. So once you do this, and go to the data for the shapefile. Oops. Go look at the data, and if you go all the way to the right, all these that have routine checkup in front of each column means that they've been joined. So the join was successful. Another way to look at it is go to property, go to symbology, and use graduated color scheme here. And if you look at columns, it brought up all the ones that are from the CDC data. Now we can map a whole lot of things. I think there are a number of really interesting ones here, but this checkup is the one I'm going to show you today. I don't think we need that much precision. I'm just going to do little things to make it a little better. I thought I'd just make it 3 classes. So, and I'm going to show you the reason why in a minute. Now, here I'm going to select all of them using the shift key. Go to simple fill. So the middle one, I think I showed you this in other recording. I'm going to get rid of all the borders. And let's see what it looks like. At first, now what you'll have to kind of keep in mind here, the reason why it's just all red is because the data is for the entire Illinois. So it has, when it calculates these 3 categories, you go back and look at it, these are equal intervals of 3. Now it includes other data like Rockford, probably Springfield, and other big cities that are not in Cook County, but in Illinois, including Joliet, Waukegan, all those places, Naperville, Aurora. Now, because of that, we need to adjust these. But before we do that, let's kind of do a little more shapefile. Let's add a little more just so that it's useful. So here I'm gonna add municipality shapefile. So it's gonna cover that, but I'm gonna go to property for that municipality. I'm gonna make the fill transparent. I'll make the border a little bit lighter. About if I do dark blue. Okay. If we do that, now we begin to see that. Let's go to info for the municipality, and we can see what cities have been mapped. Obviously, Chicago, Arlington Heights has a bit of data. Palatine has a little bit of data. Schaumburg, this probably is Elgin. Oh, Hanover Park. Okay, so as I mentioned before, not all cities are represented here. So this is a severe limitation of this data. Having said that, maybe we'll just do Chicago for this one. That's another possibility. So if we just do Chicago, we can add the community area on top of here. Then let me rename that. Areas. Then I'll make the fill transparent. For the sake of consistency, maybe I won't make that distinction between the city and the municipality here. Okay, so we have something like this here. And still, the data itself is not helpful because of the intervals here. So what I'm going to do is artificially change these. Now, what you'll see is that you have a value and a legend. So a legend is a label that you can create. So roughly what I'm doing here is creating groupings that are I would say more intuitive than empirical. So basically going from about 2/3 to 3/4 is the distinction. In fact, what I might do here is make the colors quite dramatic so that we can see it a little bit better. Click on the color itself, then you can change the color. If we do that, you have sort of red, yellow, and green, almost like a traffic light concept here. Be sure to click on apply here, even if you change it here, if you don't click on apply, it doesn't reflect it in the map. Okay, so now we have something. And one of the reasons why I think this is kind of interesting, despite the fact that we don't have all the data, is look how contiguous this is. So in other words, green areas are very much connected to other green areas, and yellows are very much connected to yellows. The green indicating less than 2/3 of the people have regular routine of sort of prevention. And then you have people between 2/3 and 3/4 is sort of the yellow area. So that's outlying areas of the city. It's very kind of interesting that the yellow is sort of following almost like a border of the city, and then big chunk of the suburbs. And then those that have regular checkup, surprisingly, it's really showing that inverted L shape. So large Black population, you have relatively high proportion of having regular checkup is what the data says. I do wonder if this has to do with age distribution more than anything else, indicating a more elderly population here, whereas younger people, the north side and the southwest side, the Latinx population, that do not have as regular of a routine in terms of prevention, medical health prevention. But I thought this was kind of an interesting map to look at. Now I'm going to save this. This is called a project file. So I've created a folder. I'm going to name it you don't need to put out the line. It just, again, just sort of habit of mine. So if I save this, because we're all using the same structure, you guys ought to be able to open this project file and create this on your machines, because we're both using H structure. So you might want to try it and then see if that works. So yeah, this is sort of an example of CDC data that we can use. And like I showed you earlier, they do have some really interesting measures. And I do wonder if some of these are useful, even if we end up only using it for Chicago. I think there are some really interesting ones here. Okay, so I'll create another recording showing you how to convert this to more, export it out from QGIS, but I thought this uses a lot of different shape files as well as data files. So I thought this was a really good example.